In this video, I'm going to share with you why you haven't been able to stay in the feeling. Now, the feeling I'm talking about comes from Neville Goddard, and one of his biggest teachings is the feeling is the secret. Why is that? Because Neville believed that whatever you're feeling, the dominant amount of time, that is the level of your consciousness. And whatever level of consciousness you're in, that is what you're going to resonate with in your circumstances or your outside world. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza also talks about this. He talks about your electromagnetic signature. The thoughts are the electrical, but the magnet of the entire thing is the feeling. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you deeply believe to be true about yourself is what you're going to attract like a magnet to you. And the only way to change what you're attracting is to change how you're feeling. But if you're watching this video and you're struggling with maintaining a feeling, it could feel very daunting and overwhelming and hopeless. That's how I felt. I kept trying different things. I kept trying to force it. And then I felt helpless because nothing I did changed how I felt. And maybe sometimes I could temporarily change it, but I had no idea how I would be able to maintain a feeling so I'd attract it when it felt so hard to grasp. And sometimes I didn't even comprehend how to feel the feeling of something I've not yet experienced. In this video, I'm going to show you why it's been so hard to maintain the feeling or even get into the feeling. So it's going to help clear and help you understand a lot deeper on what you can do to break free of this and tap into your power. And later in this video, I'm going to show you 3 things that you can do so that you can shift that dominant feeling and start attracting to you the experiences that you really want and the one that you deserve to have. So I want to show you why it's so hard to feel the feeling. Here, this glass right here is going to represent you. Right now, it's empty. There's no feeling. This potato, no offense to this sweet potato, but it's going to represent the undesired feelings, maybe feeling not good enough, having an assumption, which Neville Goddard described as anything you give permission or consent to be true. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in this video. But this is not feeling good enough, not feeling like anything's ever going to work for you, feeling a lot of low level, low vibration emotions, okay? So it's going to go in here, okay? Mostly this is based on past experiences. There could be some epigenetic influences, but this video is strictly going to focus on your past experiences. So you can see that right here, the vessel is filled with the negative emotion. Now we're going to say that this apple right here is the desired emotion. It is the feeling that you'll feel or you attach to having your wish fulfilled. So maybe it's about a romantic relationship. You'll feel a sense of belonging. Well, that's quite different than this feeling of not feeling good enough and nothing ever works out. So these live in 2 different realms. And just the same is what if I put this in front of a mirror, it's going to reflect back to me the potato and the energy in somebody else that reflects back the potato energy. It's not going to reflect apple, even though I'm thinking of the feeling of having an apple. Now, the big issue in this is not about not having something you need. It's about having something you don't need, meaning that this is still inside of you as the dominant feeling. And you're trying to feel on top of it and force a new feeling on top of the old feeling. Well, you can tell. It's already taken. The space is taken up. So even though I'm pushing and I'm trying so hard, as much as I try, I'll probably end up crushing this apple before it does anything, right? So it can sit on top of it and then something happens and it falls off. And guess what? You're going to get the reflection. You're going to feel what was actually there all along. So the temporary feelings you might be having is just because the feeling is kind of sitting on top of what's been reflecting back to you and creating a really painful dynamic in your life that you can change when you understand how it works. So really the energy is not about this and more of this feeling. It's about learning how to let go of the old feeling so you can easily step into the new feeling and you don't have to try so hard because there's space in order for you to feel it, space in order for it to stay. And so oftentimes I feel like people say that if you still feel this, something's wrong with you. You're not doing enough. Something that you're trying is wrong. And again, that made me feel so hopeless. It made me feel so bad. It made me feel so far from the experiences I really wanted in life. But the issue was not me feeling this feeling. The issue was me learning how to let go of this one as my dominant feeling. So let me now show you the 3 steps on how you can do that too. The first thing we got to do to find those dominant feelings is to understand what are the assumptions. The assumptions are the glue holding it together. They're just unconscious beliefs. And a belief is just an idea that you've repeated over and over and over, and it now has all the circuitry, all the synapses, fire and wire, fire and wire, fire and wire, where it's now second nature. You identify it and attach to it as if it were absolute truth of the universe. Understandable. We're going to talk about why that is in part 2. But first, we want to get clear on what is the assumption. What is that feeling? So I want you to start becoming an investigator to your own life. This is what I did, and it changed my life completely. You have so many different clues that will give you the keys to unlock different awarenesses. And Neville Goddard, the power of awareness. If you walked around a basement in the dark, you would probably bump into things, knock your knee. It would be painful, and you wouldn't really understand what is all in there. But if you had a light, it would be remarkably easier to navigate and understand and start to make sense of it all, just the same. So whatever happens in your life, if you're going for an interview and then they don't hire you, what does it mean about you? Oh, they didn't hire me because I'm not good enough. Okay, now we're getting to the assumptions. That assumption, I'm not good enough, is going to have then a feeling associated with it. Maybe sadness, maybe anger, maybe shame. But you want to get to the assumption level because the assumption is the idea that's creating the feeling, that deep embedded cellular level of conviction of how you see yourself. Now, maybe it's about a romantic relationship. They don't want to date me because I'm not attractive. I'm not as good as them. I have nothing to offer. What are those assumptions? We can start to dismantle assumptions, but we've got to first understand them. And there's a misunderstanding that a lot of people say. It's like, no, don't feel any negative feelings. Only focus on the good. But what does that do? That puts the apple back on the potato. You're trying to force, you're trying to suppress, you're trying to pretend or fantasize that the potato isn't there. The potato isn't bad. We just need to have awareness so we can remove it. If we deny and we reject, we're actually creating an emotional avoidance to ourselves, which makes it way more likely we're going to find emotional avoidance and abandonment in our outside world because it's just echoing our own dynamic to ourselves. Now, caveat, I'm not saying you deserve to be treated poorly or be abused by anybody, even if you're emotionally neglecting and avoiding yourself. Just want to make that clear. So the first step is to get very clear on what meaning, which is going to give you the assumption. Now let's move into part 2 on what you can do to dismantle this assumption. If you're connecting with this video and you want a little bit of help on how to get that potato out and the apple in, well, I am offering one-on-one sessions. We'll sit down over Zoom and we will break down how you can apply this in your own life. So far, I've worked with a lot of different people. We've had tremendous breakthroughs, expansions of awareness that show people exactly where they can take action and take their power back to create the life that they really want. And I'd love to help you too. If you're interested, if that resonates, there's a form below, fill it out, and I will email you. Now, once you've found your assumption, I want you to start to understand, okay, this dynamic, when you were a child, this is where these assumptions were formed. And our goal is to start to dissolve those, what feels like fundamental truths of the universe. So it's important for you to understand that as a kid, there was a power imbalance. You relied on this caretaker for your survival. So you have to say, okay, I trust that they have the competency mentally, physically, emotionally to best take care of me. If not, I'm going to leave at 3 years old and go make it. No. So you have to just take it. And you have to hope that this person, this environment takes care of you. And you're powerless because superior, inferior. Now realize this caretaker, we're not blaming, we're not shaming. We're not saying, oh, you've done this to me, now I'm stuck. No, we're just looking at your experience. When we can understand your experience better, that's where we're actually giving you the attention that you need to make change. So this person could have been They try really hard. They could have been very smothery. They could have worked a lot so you could financially have what you needed, but emotionally you were starved. So your needs weren't met. So we're not saying they're bad. Now, this person could have also been substance abuse. They could have been emotionally neglectful, emotionally abusive. But what we want to understand is you in all of this. Because if you thought, because what happens is how this person treats us, we think it's because of us. And then we store the meaning or put a story as to why they're treating us this way. We do not do this consciously. We have implicit memories, meaning that they're stored at the physical level, the level of your feelings, and an implicit memory does not need your conscious awareness to store. Your senses pick up on it, they store it, they have meanings and stories, and then boom, you will respond that way. So if they treated you poorly, if they weren't there for you, and you think, oh, the reason that they treated me that way is because I'm not enough. And here we go. This is what is formed, these assumptions. You go through life with these glasses of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. You find people, because the glasses only will pick up, magnetize, attract, perceive of people, opportunities, situations that show you you're not enough, because they are in resonance with how you think you are. The distortion, unfortunately, of how you see yourself. Understandably so. You did not have a fully developed mind. Realize this. You did not do anything wrong. But what's happening right now is your adult self is getting influenced by this early on experience and meaning from the past. So what happens? You have the same lenses and keep seeing and finding the same thing. It can feel like this is absolute truth and that potato just stays stuck in that glass. But if you can start to understand, oh, it's just a repeat of the same story. Hang on a second. Is it true that I'm not enough? Can I actually use my adult mind and all the life experience and look back on this situation and say, hang on a second, what do I think of my worth in this dynamic? Can I see that maybe the adult didn't have the emotional capacity? Maybe I thought all this time, if I would have been a good girl, if I was the best boy, if I would have done that thing, then they would have given me what I needed. Can I see that they didn't have it to give? I was in an environment that lacked what I needed. That can be difficult. We can process that, which is going to help us process that potato energy and let it go. But it's going to start to say, oh, this is not my worth. I was always enough. I thought that how they treated me was my worth. But what I'm saying is, no, actually, my opinion of myself, my viewpoint, my perspective of myself is now most important. And when you do that, you actually now own the copyright of your self-concept. And when you have the copyright, you can change it. And when you start to change it and see this had nothing to do with you, guess what happens to that early on assumption? It starts to dissolve. You actually we'll give these little check mark glasses, even though that looks weird, but these are going to be positive self-concept glasses. You're going to see differently. You're going to see all the check marks that show you you're enough. People, money, circumstances. You're going to literally be able to perceive with your senses things that you did not see before. These glasses cannot see with these glasses. This is a new reality. Simply by showing your reticular activating system. Have you ever noticed that a car you're looking at, all of a sudden you start looking, you see it everywhere? Maybe it's a pair of shoes and it's everywhere, right? Maybe it's another country for a trip and you're like, oh my God, it's everywhere. Your reticular activating system, your subconscious is wild and it will block out different things that go against who you perceive yourself to be. When you change that, you literally open up an entirely new world. Now, there's one more thing I want to show you to help maximize this. All right, the most crucial part of this to really start breaking out of not being able to stay in the feeling is what meaning, what label, what feeling are you going to attach to a present event, right? You're going to have an outside stimulus. Maybe you thought you were going to get a job, everything's lined up, and then you don't get a call, or maybe they say, hey, we went with another person. This is the most crucial 15 seconds of your life. Why did that happen? It's like I can hear the Jeopardy music now. Da-na-na. Why did that happen? Oh, it happened because I'm not enough. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to say it's because of these past goggles. And guess what? More likely to say that same thing again. Okay, I didn't get the call. maybe that's disappointing. Let's be real with ourselves. Yeah, that's not, I didn't see that happening. I really thought I'd get this job. Okay. Now, we've got to be very clear about our ABCs. I promise you, if you can start breaking out of this, it's going to stop wiring the old story and start opening up the space for the apple. Get the potato out. It's time for apple. It's the year of the apple. But you're going to want to be aware, okay, what story, what's coming up? Oh, I really want to tell that old story. Feeling a lot of anxiety. Oh, really getting triggered here. I want to start breathing. Trying to stay in my breath, stay in my body. You can do things like butterfly hugs. You can bounce, right? That helps you to ground in your body. You can go on a walk. It's going to help reduce the old lens, going to help reduce the amygdala, scanning for fear. You can go for a workout, go for a run, call a friend for reassurance, journal, or simply just sit and breathe, all right? And then you want to make a new choice. Okay, what do I need right now? I want to ground myself. I want to break out of this trigger, because problem solving in a trigger is only going to end in disaster. It's going to end in the old, right? We don't want to problem solve. We don't want to force a new feeling there. What we want to do is break out of the old feeling. Okay, I got to regulate right now. I got to step out of this and take care of myself. What did you need from that adult early on that you didn't get? Words of affirmation, comforting, support. What did you need? That's going to give you a clue. The more and more you do this, you're creating space for the apple to get in there. And it's not so hard to stay in it because you've done the work to clear the room. This is the truth of who you really are. You are worthy. You are deserving. Letting go of the potato. It's on the floor. It's time for your true self to come out. When you're in your highest expression, the world is better. Now, you still might be struggling with how in the world you can feel and really step into something before you've experienced it. Well, this next video is going to break every part of it down so you can better understand exactly how you can do this. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you on the next one.